Welcome back to the Life After College Athletics podcast, where we interview former college athletes who have gone on to achieve excellence in the professional working world after taking down their locker room nameplate and retiring from their sport. The transition from college athletics to the professional working world is a 180 and can be difficult to redefine an athlete's identity. What better way to learn than how to shift goals and find success from those who have done it in real time?
Today on the podcast, we have Ryan LaPlante. Ryan played college lacrosse for the University of Denver, where he won a national championship in 2015. Post-graduation, went on to play professionally for the Denver Outlaws. And then once his pro career wrapped up, he worked as a project manager in commercial real estate at Jensen LaPlante Development, and has recently just moved over to the LaPlante team at the group, and is serving as a realtor partner. So, Ryan, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much, guys. Really looking forward to be on here and join you guys.
Yeah, we're happy to have you. Especially like we talked about early on, all three of us are kind of from Fort Collins, Windsor area. So it's like a nice reunion, if you want to call it that. But before the podcast, we were talking about how much that area has grown. And so it's pretty exciting. And I'm sure like as a realtor right now, it's almost like a playground for you out there.
Totally. It's awesome to see, as we were discussing before, how much Northern Colorado has grown and changed, and such a special place to us, and very cool kind of bond that all of us being from Northern Colorado have, and the community, especially the lacrosse community. So excited to get to chat with you guys.
Yeah, awesome. Will you give us a brief background about yourself growing up in Fort Collins, and then kind of college ball and pro ball?
Totally. So grew up in Fort Collins, Colorado. Started playing lacrosse when I was in third grade, and was playing down up in Fort Collins and playing around the state of Colorado. So had a really successful kind of youth and high school career before I went to the University of Denver. I luckily linked up with Trevor Tierney when I was a freshman in high school, and he started to be my goalie coach when I was a freshman, and got to work together. And eventually he ended up recruiting me to the University of Denver as soon as Bill Tierney got hired. So that was a very unique opportunity for me that I really wanted to move forward to my college career with, especially a goalie coach, and no better person to do it than learn from, in my opinion, the best goalie that's ever played the game. So ended up going to the University of Denver to play with Coach Bill Tierney. I committed there during his first season, so was really excited to get out there and kind of go to a new program that was kind of going to be an unknown and a question mark, but more importantly, stay close to my family and stay in Colorado. So I was really looking forward to that opportunity. So I went to University of Denver and got to go to college there for like basically as a normal student, because I was actually redshirting my freshman year, so I wasn't traveling with the team. So just kind of going through that and getting my feet under me as a new college student, which was a really interesting experience on top of playing a Division I sport. So just was getting my feet under me, and then ended up getting in a funky situation with our other goalie. He unfortunately tore his ACL, or not his ACL, his Achilles, sorry. And that was when they pulled my red shirt, and I got to luckily be one of the starting goalies from there on out through my college career. So that was a really great opportunity for me. I'm very blessed that opportunity came. I felt horribly for Jamie Faust, obviously, but kind of prepared me to be ready in my life for things can change, right? And be ready to adjust. I was actually at home on spring break. Luckily didn't go to Mexico. I was actually going to try and book a trip down to Mexico for spring break because I didn't need to be with the team, and thank goodness I didn't. So ended up flying out to go and play with the team, and the rest was kind of history from there. So
you're way more humble about it than a lot of other people would be, but like you are one of the best goalies, I would say, that has come out of college lacrosse. So I think and if you are in the lacrosse community, you know Trevor Tierney. So kind of like the idea that you paired up with him as a freshman and learned all your fundamentals and everything from him, it is like that true idea of if you want to be the greatest, you go and hang around the greatest people.
Totally.
Which and I mean, you get the opportunity to play, and then you guys go on and win a national championship in 2015. Like that's a super cool story.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it's kind of like showing up to a golf course and ending up getting to get coached by Tiger Woods, right? Or like showing up to Patrick Waugh or LeBron's basketball school and ending up getting to work with them. You know, it was just by chance.
Yeah.
And I could even get further deeper into it, but it was a recruiting violation for me to go and play it for any teams in Denver at the time. So it was Trevor's team was one of the only teams I could go try out for out of Boulder. So it just couldn't have worked out any better. But thank you. It was a very unique experience. And I think my college career as a goalie really helped me because there is so many ups and downs of it, just like in your day in and day out of a career. And it's a long-term process, and you got to just keep focusing on getting 1% better every day. That's what I really preach with kind of the other goalies that I coached and the college goalies that I got to work with. So kind of fast forward into that next year of college, that was where I really had my first competition based kind of experience within the college once Jamie came back, and got to work on a team. Basically, we ended up splitting halves for 2 years, which was really successful in my opinion. And I thought that it was great to get to work with Jamie and compete. And I attribute so much of my success to Jamie and our situation from that, because he pushed me, man. Like Jamie, I think, was technically 2.5 or almost 3 years older than me, but one class above me. And I respect so much of him. He kind of was completely different type of person than me. He was like Tarzan. He had 3% body fat. The guy was a beast. And, you know, it was a great mindset for me to get to work and compete against, as you guys get to know. And he was hard on me, which was really good pushing factor to kind of push me through and not only just apply to my life in goal, but also in the classroom, and kind of just push me to be a better version of myself. So that was great. And then kind of ending our senior year, got to finally break through. We had made it to the Final Four, I think, my sophomore and junior year, and finally broke through my senior year, won a national championship. Was really cool, special experience, especially after banging on the door for so many years. Should have almost made it to the Final Four all 4 years. Sadly lost to Loyola again our freshman year by 1, but finally broke through that. And I think it just showed the persistency of just keeping your head down and trying to get to that spot. And obviously some good luck and some good pipes probably helping me out every once in a while there in games. But it was an incredible experience going through college. So what was next, working into kind of graduation?
Yeah, if you want to do graduation, and then why you decided to play pro ball. Because I know, like, for those listening who aren't really familiar with lacrosse, there's kind of you can do outdoor or indoor, but I think, at least in my perspective, if you have an opportunity to play professional sports, you should always go and do it, even if the money's
Absolutely.
not there. Like in lacrosse, like I know they're trying to change it with the PLL, but there just isn't a lot of money in that. So yeah, if you want to talk about why you decided to go play pro lacrosse and how that went, and then how did that transition kind of to where you're graduating and you're hanging up the cleats, basically.
Absolutely. So yeah, pro lacrosse, for those that don't know, it was interesting, especially at the time frame that I was graduating. The MLL was the only outdoor pro league that existed at the time for outdoor lacrosse, and then indoor lacrosse there was the NLL. And as a goalie, I never played indoor lacrosse, so that really wasn't kind of an option for me or an opportunity. So I unfortunately didn't get drafted in the senior draft class that was going on, I think, during our spring break. And that obviously was a bummer for me. Like, I was very disappointed in that, to be honest with you, and was hopeful that would happen, but then had a good season that year. And a lot of that was just because I was splitting halves and people wanted to see me play a full game, which was completely understandable. So didn't get picked up in that draft and kind of just wasn't worried about that. I was more focused on our senior season. So ended up playing our senior season, winning that championship. And then I think it was like an expansion draft or something like that they hold after the season. I found out I got drafted by Twitter. So that kind of tells you the state of the league at the time, I guess.
You're like, oh, that's my name on the
Yeah, I think my mom texted me. She was like, you got drafted by Denver. I was like, that's really cool. Awesome. Thank you. So that was kind of the state of the league at the time, right? So ended up getting drafted, and it was, I think, in the middle or like 3 weeks into the season, because there was a slight overlap of MLL into the college season. So ended up getting drafted, and they had Jesse Schwartzman that summer, I believe, my first summer out. So I just kind of was a practice roster guy going in and out and getting some time there and getting to be a part of the Denver Outlaws team, which was special, especially for Jesse Schwartzman's final year. Then moving on to that next season, that was when I did get to play into 2016. So I definitely hung around and did keep playing in the MLL as long as I could. And so I started for like one half of a season, and then they ended up getting Jack Kelly, who was unbelievable that season. Our team was struggling a little bit, and he got inputted. They picked him up after he had led his team to the Final Four and just kind of shook things up. And they went on like the best MLL run a team's ever won and won the championship. So I was in the MLL for 2 years, and I started for half and did some backup stuff, but it was such a hard league to play in and try and get your career started, especially if you're just a pro lacrosse outdoor player and don't have the option to go into that. So kind of looping back to upon graduation, that was when Trevor Tierney and I had gotten together and come up with the idea of starting an official goalie school. And that was where I was really passionate about that. And I knew that this would be something that I had always wanted to give back. Throughout college, I had always coached for our Denver Elite program and was helping out coach there, but I never had the opportunity to just coach goalies in kind of a training platform. So once I had graduated in 2015, we decided to start the Goalie Evolution Academy, which we still run today. And we've been doing that now for 8 years. And I think we've coached over 180 goalies now to this point, which is awesome. So started that up in 2015. And we do that about 4 sessions a year with 64 goalies per year that come through to us. And that was where Trevor and I kind of launched that program to get that started as a part of the LXDC network. And that was kind of what led me into probably the next question of where did my actual career start? So obviously playing lacrosse, that was not the best salary I couldn't even pay my own rent off of the salary of what I would be getting there for lacrosse. So I kind of had to hit the drawing board on what I wanted to do.
This would be an interesting question for a lot of viewers that don't know, just so they have an idea. And this might be a personal question, so feel free to give us a range. But on average, like, how much would a rookie be making in the MLL?
In the MLL, I think the rookie salary was like, I think 6,000 was rookie salary, and it might have been even just a little bit less than that. Rookie salary was 6,000, and I think somewhere around like 15,000 was the max salary for the MLL for the summer, and that was for like 17 games. And you would only technically get paid if you played in the game or were like dressed. So there wasn't a guarantee that you would get dressed for that game.
And then would they cover all of your travel expenses, meal expenses?
Yeah, so you would get travel expenses and then a per diem. But since I lived in Denver, most of the time, like if it was a home game or something like that, I wasn't practicing. I would just go to the practice. But if you were flying out, they would be covering those expenses, because most of the time they were only flying out guys that were we're going to be playing in the game.
Yeah. And one thing that would be interesting to hear, I think for a lot of listeners hearing that it was so small, you really have to have a love for the game. But I agree with Jake. Like if you have that opportunity, you should definitely take it. For those that are like that is who they want to be, is tied into their sport. And there is some like I don't know, something about it, like playing and competing is so valuable to us as athletes. So continuing that for as long as we can is super awesome. And success in other aspects through money can wait for that regard. But for you, what was like the motivation to keep playing? Like what was that driving factor, even though you knew like you'd have to find another job and have to do ancillary things to support yourself?
Absolutely. Yeah. I honestly did want to keep playing. I did want to keep going and still would love to honestly play. I think it would be a blast to play against those guys at the top level because the game is unbelievable at the highest level, the pro level. Those guys are so fun to watch. It's the compete of getting to play against those best people. And I highly recommend people do it as long as they possibly can. You know what I mean? And that I honestly did want to keep playing, but I had some future opportunities through coaching and through the game that I was able to keep doing and keep playing, not necessarily keep playing, but keep involved with the sport in different aspects of that. So kind of as I was getting done playing, I actually didn't know that was going to be my last season. And our goalie school had kind of taken off from coaching, and I was doing some of the Denver Elite stuff as well. And that was when Coach Tierney asked me if I wanted to be a part of the coaching staff at the University of Denver. And if I was going to do that, that kind of meant that I had to stop playing for the Outlaws because I needed to do coaching during the summer and be on the East Coast helping coach. So that was kind of the crossroads in the road that I had. And I actually the Outlaws had reached out to me to see if I wanted to play another season. And that was where I had said, unfortunately, I'm going to move on and go because I have an unbelievable opportunity to coach for who, in my opinion, the best coach ever. That was an opportunity I could never, ever pass up. And I'm so happy and not regretful of that whatsoever, especially now. We didn't know he was going to be retiring. So yeah. I'm so unbelievably thankful that I did make that decision. But if you do, for people that do have the opportunity to keep playing, I think do it as long as you can. The money will come down the road. If you have an opportunity to play at the professional level, at least for a year or two, do it. It's 100% worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. Before we jump towards your career in real estate, I wanted to ask some questions about some things you mentioned with starting a goalie academy. But first I want to ask you, you mentioned that Jamie pushed you to be a better goalie and you guys kind of had that symbiotic relationship where you were competing for the same position, but he was also giving you some support as a person who was older than you and more senior than you. How have you taken some of those lessons and implemented them into your daily practice when you go and coach youth and have those interactions with other young lacrosse players through your academy?
Totally. I think it was the compete factor, right? And competing at all times against yourself more than anything. I think goalie is a very unique position, right? Because you're kind of on an island out there and every situation is different. But I thought Jamie was a very serious, focused kid the minute that he stepped on the field. And I was a little bit more relaxed, kind of joking around and calmer. But I think I got to see how that focus could work, especially when you're competing against somebody that is like that. And it made me have to bring my focus way more, right? Like it's like competing against somebody that for the same job as you in the workplace, right? You've got to bring your best as well at all times. So I think no matter what, it brought me to be better and see his focus and his drive and kind of mindset and goals, right? As soon as he was on the field, he wasn't making any jokes or anything like that. He was fully locked in. And I think that taught me how to apply that kind of within my own comfort zone of it, right? Of, okay, yes, you can still have that kind of laid back. But as soon as it's game time, you've got to be able to bring that, you know. And honestly, he did scare me. Like he was a badass dude, and he brought that kind of mindset of compete that you don't see a lot of people have. And I think that was really good for me to see. And I think basically he just kind of, I don't have the best words to put this, guys, but just had the mindset of don't let anything else affect you, right? Like just focus on the one goal that you have, and don't let little distractions or dumb distractions take you away from that, and support everybody. You know, I think he was unbelievably supportive of me in a hard pushing way. It wasn't like a buddy way. It was a hard pushing way. And they introduced us by making us room together on the road. That was the best part about all this. So that made us really, really close.
It was a similar thing for me my freshman year. We can stop talking about lacrosse because I know a lot of people are listening. They're like, these guys only talk about lacrosse. But my freshman year at Canisius, I was the number 2 LSM behind Reese Eddy, and Reese plays in the PLL right now. He's like a great lacrosse player. Honestly, like I would work as hard as I could, but I just knew like Reese is more talented than me, and I'm never going to pass him up. So I'm just trying to learn as much as I can from him. But yeah, Coach Miyashita put us in the same room together, and I'm like, of course, this guy that I'm competing against that I am supposed to kind of hate, like now I'm sleeping in the same bed with him every single road trip. Like, why is that a thing?
Totally. I think it works.
Same hotel, same room, different bed.
Well, we had a one bed, and the senior got the bed, so we had to sleep together.
Yep. Canisius, that's the way you travel, baby.
It's gritty. It's gritty.
Tough.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Anyway, that's awesome though, and I think like transitioning that into the workplace, the people who are going to make it far are the people who are dialed in every day, because you can't just, when you're relating it back to sports, like you can't just go through the motions of practice in any high level of athletics and expect to be 100% dialed in on game day. And so I think it's so interesting when you look at college athletes in the workplace, it seems like they're the ones who are always on time. They're the ones who are always hardest working every single day, because they understand that if you are getting 1% better every day, like you're talking about, Ryan, that in a year, you have increased your capacity by 365%. You've tripled your ability if you just stay consistent every single day. You show up, you bring your lunch pail, and you just work 1% better. If I didn't get 1% better, that's all right. I'm going to get 1% better tomorrow. Even if you meet half the metric, you are 1.5 times what you were a year prior, right? So
it's simple to sit here and say like, oh, we can all be consistent, because it's harder than that. It's one of the most unknown things of college athletics is we show up on game day, and from the outside it looks like we're prepared and ready to go, but like throughout that week there was struggles and pain and some ups and downs. But like in the working world, there's similar things. Like if you're working so hard, like it's hard, especially if it's in a job that you're totally not bought into. But I think from your regard, like you can flip that mindset, and I'm sure you've done it as well, is come out with a way, okay, like today is going to be difficult, but I'm going to succeed through it. Like I'm going to take these opportunities and make them benefits and not negatives.
Yeah, I think somewhat like me having that structure of the college athletics has provided me to kind of have the structure of it. And yeah, like what you said, there's going to be ups and downs. There's going to be tough things in your day-to-day job, just like there was tough things in your day-to-day college career, you know. And I think the college athletics prepares you for that, right? Every day is completely different. Every week is completely different. Just like most of the times your job, things pop up, different situations pop up. Issues happen on teams, issues happen with friends on teams, issues happen with coworkers, right? I feel as if college athletes have had that experience of the team structure that is like working within a business network of community on a team and with other employees, that you've have the experiences learning how to navigate every kind of situation that kind of comes up, whether it's professionally or socially or financially, whatever that may be. On you kind of run through those circumstances at the college level that a lot of people don't have the opportunity to, because they're not traveling on team buses. They're not going and staying in a hotel where you end up getting put in a four people in a 2-bedroom room. Like you navigate kind of how to deal with different people. And I think that sets so many people up for success socially within the professional world, right? That they know how to work within that organization. I think that's what really helped me, was getting to deal with so many different personality types. You don't get to choose who's on the team, right? You're going to the team. You're now part of that organization. Hopefully they're like-minded people. So I think that has really kind of helped me get used to every different type of personality that I get to work with in my day in and day out, whether it's parents, kids that I'm coaching, or clients that I work with. It kind of varies. And I think my experience, coaching and getting to play, has really helped me with that.
Let's talk a little bit about your experience in starting up the Goalie Academy with Trevor, and share a little bit of background on A, how that started, but B, was it something that just came out of just simple conversations, or did one person have an idea to start the academy? What was kind of the backstory to that, and leveraging your network on that aspect? Because I know you started it with one of your former coaches.
Totally. So yeah, I started it with Trevor Tierney, and Trevor and I had met obviously when I was a freshman in college, or freshman in high school, and he kind of had a very limited time. I only got to work with him a few times before getting to college, because it is so hard to line up goalie training, and especially goalie training with somebody that actually coaches goalies, right? You get a lot of guys that have never played coaching the position. And so we kind of had seen this niche market for a long time, and just about every goalie would tell you it's really hard to find training, especially even if you go to practice. Most teams don't even have goalie coaches at all. So we didn't really run through the idea very often when I was in college. It was kind of something of, when I graduated college, Trevor and I had played around with the idea a few times, but then I think we did our first one in the summer of 2016. Actually, it wasn't 2015. 2016 was when we started it. And we had been kind of playing around with ideas of like, hey, do we do this one-on-one lessons? Do we do this small group? And we came up with a bunch of different ideas, and honestly just went to a Starbucks for like 4 hours one day and just kind of jotted and brainstormed a bunch of different ideas. And I think I actually still have the original document on my computer here of different ideas. And at the start, we were honestly looking at trying to take this thing nationally. I was going to go be on the road and do kind of clinics, lessons all over the place. And we kind of came up with different ideas, and we got to the point where we wanted to start it locally first, and provide an unbelievable product and get that down first. So what we did was we kind of just came up with a bunch of different ideas, and we're like, okay, goalie is a lot different than most other positions. We need to have these kids for a long period of time, because the way we coach is very unique compared to most. So it's like a 10-week, 20-hour curriculum is overall what we teach. And we felt as if for us to properly coach kids and give them the tools that they need, it needs to be a full online course, or not course, but like a full online course with this curriculum. So we decided to try it as a 10-week platform once a week, and we ended up releasing the registration, and luckily it sold out within the first 11 hours of releasing that. And we sent it out through our LXTC lacrosse kind of network, and that was our test platform. And to be honest, guys, the idea that we came up with the first time of Trevor and I of this 10-week platform, we have stuck into it to this day. At first, I didn't think that Trevor was right with this kind of layout, and I wanted to do this really big idea of traveling the country and making this thing huge. And honestly, I think the platform that we provide gives goalies the best chance to be successful in goal. If I was going and traveling it, I can't coach kids the same way in 3 hours that I can for 20 hours, right? I want to give them this full toolbox of comfort in goal, not just a little snippet. So we've continued that program since now. I think we're at 33 total 10-week sessions now, which is really cool, and have learned a lot from it. You know, we've changed different things and navigating COVID, but it's a really fun business for me to have as kind of a side opportunity and get to teach and coach and be marketing, human relations, customer service, deal with kids, deal with parents, deal with every type of person. And I think that's really put me into a successful spot with my real estate career. And I think the network that our goalie school has created for me was very crucial. And a lot of that, guys, luckily, is just by word of mouth. We do not market very often. I can't market it, to be honest with you, because we're pretty much already full off of our wait list for the next one. So it is very unique.
I was just gonna say, like, kind of as two kind of summary points. I think on the business side of it, people hear me talk about Alex Hormozi, but I just am obsessed with him. But he always talks about how if you provide enough value to people, they will say yes because they will feel stupid saying no. And so when you have two amazing goalie coaches and you're providing all this value to them, if a kid wants to get there, you're giving them a blueprint. Hey, this is what we've done. And we will coach you one-on-one. Like, that value proposition is so big, you almost feel stupid saying no to. And I think that is part of the reason why you guys have been so successful, along with just sticking to your business plan and not deviating off of that. But I don't know, any comments on that? Or Rylan, I think you were going to ask something.
Yeah, there's a couple of things I want to highlight that I think are valuable for people to understand. So it does help that yourself and Trevor are both very accomplished goalies and both played professionally, so have a resume and backing to support this marketing. It's very easy for some family to see, okay, these guys have experience, they have the knowledge, they probably have the understanding of how to coach my kid. But on the other side, you still got to actually retain those kids. They're essentially clients to keep it in business terms. They're clients, and you got to find a way to retain them. So from that respect, how did you go about taking what you already knew from who you were and where you'd come from into leveraging that into opportunity? So you had spoke about, okay, we have an LXTC platform, which is a club lacrosse program in Denver that we can use to promote this. We already have goalies that play for these teams. So here's an opportunity to reach out to these clients. And then from there, those kids maybe tell their friends, and those parents maybe tell other parents of young goalies. So there's this snowball effect that occurs from that. But outside of that, how did you use your network to market and to create this program? Because these things don't just happen instantly. Like, it takes time and progress.
Yeah, sorry. I was trying to give the short version. Let me put it this way. When we launched, right, the first one obviously was very successful. Then I had to start marketing it more for sure, because the 16 kids that we got the first one was a lot of kids that had been reaching out to us. They were that LXTC network kind of group of people. And then the word started to get out. So I was really pushing hard on this. Once I stopped playing and I was coaching goalies at DU, that's when I started to do this outreach on social media, started to kind of press stuff out there, and was really getting the word out, marketing it a little bit. So that did take a lot of time. And we were doing one. We had kind of changed the way that we do it. Like, we didn't change the 10-week thing, but we were doing them like fall, spring, winter, summer. And that platform was causing us to have to kind of market it a little bit more. So we had switched to doing just fall and winter. So that gives those kids time to go play their summer lacrosse tournaments that they're at, go play in their spring team. So there was a lot of trials and tribulations of that. And then with our network, we were kind of just really reaching out to people of these club programs or just high school coaches that I had met through the days of playing and getting in that network. I think a lot of the time that I get kids involved is a coach will reach out to me that I've played with, or a guy that I coached with, or whatever, through the days. And that's where I'll be like, hey, come to our goalie school. I'll send them there. So I think a lot of that success has been my network of people. Luckily, being from Colorado here, growing up here, that network has really provided that kind of pipeline of goalies in for me to keep that base going. And we obviously have the LXTC network, which has a lot of goalies that come through that as well. But I think the network of the coaches that I've met, and the parents also, I think the parents from the LXTC and the Denver Elite teams and other club programs, that's been my biggest network of kind of leveraging my network of getting people to recommend me as a coach, to come to me and Trevor to our goalie school. Is these parents on the sidelines, and then the parents are like, hey, you got to get them to Ryan LaPlante, or you got to get them to Coach Trevor Tierney. And that, I think, has been the biggest success recipe for that. And honestly, guys, the biggest success recipe is when our goalies go and stand on their head at these tournaments and these club tournaments and play really well at these fields, because the other parents and teams are like, where is this person learning from? I would say that's honestly probably our best recipe, is when those kids go play well. I get reached out to by the other parents of the goalies from the other team, and they're like, what are you teaching? What are you doing? So I think that kind of network within itself, you guys know how the sports network, for whether it's volleyball, basketball, whatever, that those words kind of spread throughout that.
Yeah, absolutely. Couldn't agree more. And Jake and I, it's kind of similar fashion at how we're thinking about the progression of this podcast. Is we're starting with people we know and what we know, and just start getting people and guests on this podcast to start sharing their stories. And our outreach into marketing is people we know. So I think for those people listening, the opportunity is closer than you think. It can be as close as your family. Like, your family may know people of ventures that you want to get into or try out that you may not have known before. So just having those conversations and not being afraid to ask is the best thing you can do. The worst thing that happens is say, no, I don't know this person, or no, I'm not familiar with the space. Then you go find the next person.
Absolutely. Shoot your shot.
Exactly.
You miss 100% of the chances you don't take.
And all the ones Ryan LaPlante saves. No, I think that's, Rylan, that's a great transition. Talking to your real estate career, especially as you're working as a realtor now, you can show so many houses to your client and they just keep saying no, 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 but you're one house away from getting that next deal, or one contact, or maybe they don't buy a house from you, but someone they know will buy a house from you. So how have you kind of used what you've learned from lacrosse and growing this goalie academy business to now into your professional world and leveraging your network in that space?
Totally. Yeah. So kind of long answer, if you don't mind. So after graduation, actually kind of my overall like business goal in my life was to go into real estate, residential real estate specifically. So after I graduated college and was starting up the goalie school, I knew that once my lacrosse playing career was done, I was going to have a full-time job, and the goalie school was working great, but I know that I can't shoot till I'm 50 as a full-time job. That's not possible. So, had always had the dream of going into real estate. My dad works in development. My mom works in residential. So I've grown around that. So after graduation, I had to go back to real estate school. I got my real estate brokerage license in 2016, and started selling residential real estate, but then kind of the lacrosse opportunities came about. So kind of hung that up for a little bit and just focused on the lacrosse. So for people that are graduating college, I think, we all have those plans of what we're going to do. But I think if there's an opportunity that comes up, and we talked about this last time, Jake, is you only get one kind of start to your career. And obviously, if you want to go to that perfect dream job, that is great. But if you get an opportunity from one of your networks or whatever, I think when you come out of college, it's such a great time to try out that opportunity, try out different things, try out kind of see what could work, if something is successful for you. And that's kind of what happened with me with the lacrosse and the goalie school. I didn't think that was going to be the case. So I had went into real estate to start and was really excited about that, getting my feet under me, and kind of went away once Coach T gave me that opportunity and did that. And once I was getting a little bit more burnt out from coaching and just ready to kind of move on to the next thing full time, was I got an offer to work in development and get back into the residential world of real estate. And I think that was amazing for me at that time, transition wise, because it was kind of an intro into the business world. And working down in Denver on apartment construction projects was really, really great, and kind of thrown into the fire. I was working with my father, who's been in development for a long time, but we were working on big construction projects, 300 unit apartment projects. And that was really great for me to go into, because it's almost like a team. The construction team is on site, and everybody has that common goal of finishing the project. So I think that was a really great atmosphere for me to get into, to start my transition into quote unquote the real world. And that created a really good network for me to get to know people that were willing to teach me, especially on construction sites too. That gave me a great platform to kind of springboard my career, because I had a great group of people I was working with that were teaching me constantly over and over, and teaching me how things are done and into the business world. So I did that for about 3.5 years, and then just recently switched back into residential real estate sales. And I'm really glad I did the development side, because that taught me the business side and the construction, how a house is built, how your plumbing, your framing, how all of that works. And that now has put me into a place where the residential real estate side, I can really understand what really solid properties are, great investment values, returns, and have that understanding. So kind of all things together over my life, I've really learned how to work with a network, work with a team, work with a construction team, work with kind of different networks of people, shaping that into my residential real estate career, where I'm going to work with clients of every different type of background. And I think that real estate is all about having a great network and building that career off of your network, and staying in contact with those people. And how do you use that network to not necessarily use the network, but leverage your network to keep having that successful career in whatever that may be. And it might not be you getting a deal from that person, right? Like, I might not ever get a deal from you, Jake, but say you referred me to somebody, that would be incredible, And I think it's not just about seeing your friendships or anything as a business opportunity. You can't ever think of that. That's the absolute wrong way to think about that mentality. But that friend could help you get to somewhere that you have no idea where you're going to be going, right? So I think using that relationship with people can really help guide you, and just talking and getting into deeper conversations with people and doing that. And I think in your 20s, that's a little bit tougher, but as people do start to grow and grow up older, I see that with my friends starting to happen, is the conversations start to change, and you start to see people really engage within their networks on how you all can help each other out.
I want to ask you a question, and maybe you don't know the answer to this, but there's this idea of when you have a goal, you should always take actions to be directionally correct. So what I mean by that is, like, you just graduated college and you knew you wanted to be in residential real estate. So
Yep.
I know that I want to be eventually there. So how can I take the next step that's in front of me that I can see, and that'll get me to that direction? And for you, that was like, well, if I understand the development and I understand where markets are moving, then I know that I can be able to move into an awesome market and sell homes and have that in my back pocket, so that I can almost persuade my client, you know what I mean? But
Totally.
so there's that idea. But the question I want to ask you is, how do you balance that versus taking advantage of opportunities that are almost once in a lifetime? For example, the goalie school, because
Hmm.
some could argue that it's a distraction from your ultimate goal.
Totally.
But I guess so. Yeah, that's the question. Like, how do you balance that and still kind of make it work and not have any regrets?
Yeah, so I've definitely honestly struggled with that because it is a very big commitment to do the goalie school and kind of full-time career in real estate, right? It, it,
Mm-hmm.
it does become a distraction at times. And that's why I think now with that schedule, I've really had to figure that out. And that's luckily, I'm lucky because I am the scheduler of that, right? I get to choose the time that happens. So I have control of that scenario. But I would say that it does become a distraction. But if you're willing to work at it and willing to put in the time to do it, then it is worth it, right? And
Mm-hmm.
it pays off. And you get the value out of that. You'll end up working more, that's for sure. You'll end up working at times that other people aren't working. I get home at 12:15 a.m. on Thursday night and leave Fort Collins at 2 p.m. to get to the goalie school for 4 hours of coaching. It's a 9-hour day for 4 hours of coaching, but that is really great for me because it makes me happy when I do it, and it's not about the money part. It's about going and enjoying it and having fun and being in that moment. Yes, it's great that I can make money coaching and make that a career, but to me, it's all about just continuing that passion. Yes, let's have the distractions, but I think what I'm working on is just time blocking and making sure that, like, hey, this is when I can focus on this part of, if it is a side gig, right? Save this stuff for all one time of work period instead of it being constant distractions, because those tiny little distractions will take me away from like my ultimate goal of being a lifetime career in residential real estate, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm working on that. That's something that I continue to work on, and I think that's just growing up with time trying to navigate that.
Yeah, really good. I think and again, I'm 24, so I am still learning this, even way behind you, but I think that obviously the most valuable resource you have is your time. And so if you can
Mm-hmm.
manage your time, then you can control your life basically. And I think that people who don't, it's corny because all your college coaches tell you you need to be good at time management. You need to be able to
Mm-hmm.
do your homework and go to class and be able to manage all of this as a college athlete. But I think that it really is one of your most important tools in your toolbox is to be able to manage your time.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
And sacrifice time, and sometimes the things that you want to go do you can't go do, and that's just
mhm.
the way it is. That's plain and simple. That's the way it is. Can't change it.
Yeah, I think on regards to your last comment, sacrificing time.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you're willing to sacrifice your time for other people, there's reward out of that, and there's
Totally.
benefit to that. So if you take time to really give a lot of time and dedication to a client's needs, so in your realm of selling residential units, if you have a client who's got a lot of check boxes that they're looking
Mm-hmm.
for a house, if you take time to really find properties that fit those boxes, not only will you likely have a better rate of success because you're presenting opportunities that you know that they'd be interested in, but they'll respect that, and you could be referred to another client, a friend of theirs, and it would just snowball from there. So I think what you put in is what you get out, and I'm sure you've seen that firsthand already.
Absolutely. Yeah, I've applied that pretty much to my whole life. Is you get what you put out. And that is absolutely crucial to success, and having that kind of commitment to everything. I personally try and give my best, almost too much of myself, to every situation that I put myself in, whether it's in work, socially, if I'm playing golf or whatever. Like, I literally want to give my full effort and the best of myself to every situation and scenario that may be, whether it's clients, if they want to see 40 houses, then they get to see 40 houses. I want to give everybody the best of whatever I can. And if that means me sacrificing sometimes, that's the way it is, but I want the best for those people and the kids I coach and the families I coach. It does take that sacrifice, but it's so rewarding in the end when you get through that. There's gonna be good times and bad times, and like Trevor always told this to me, and was such a great learning point for me, was don't let the highs be too high and don't let the lows be too low. And that's something I try and work on. Obviously there's going to be times you get low from just so much going on, but try and keep that even keeled kind of mentality. And then you can provide way better passion in everything that you do.
Yeah, my dad sent me something yesterday, and it just reminded me of this. He said he sent me this video on Instagram, and it was basically that if you're pursuing a goal, your life should be split up into thirds, where a first third is you actually are receiving some success from achieving that goal, or like you're getting these like mini micro wins, if you want to call it that. The middle section is that you're kind of living okay. Like today, I don't feel great. I didn't have a win today, but I feel kind of average. And then that last third is I'm just down in the dumps today. Like it's been a crappy day. Like I don't even know why I'm like trying to achieve this goal. But the idea is if you are living in that thirds, so let's say you have 9 days out of your week and 3 of them are good, 3 of them are okay, 3 of them are bad. That means you actually are on the right trajectory. And if any one of those thirds is too big, it means either you're not going hard enough towards your goal, meaning you have too many good days, or you're kind of getting burnt out and you need to be able to find some micro wins, or else you're not going to achieve the goal if the bad days are too many, right? So what are your guys' thoughts about that?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I tie it directly to something Coach Holman used to tell us, is that you really can only have, I think he would say 2, but it's really 3 priorities in your life. And just due to time allocation and how much time you actually have in the day. And for us in college, he would write them on the board like every morning, and it was school, family, and lacrosse. Like, and then there's the social aspect. There's other subset things that you can have priorities, but your time allocation, if you want to be all in on 3 things, you have to find those 3 things. Yes, you can spend a little bit of time giving to social. You can go out with your friends, go out drinking. You can do other stuff, but you have to realize it takes away from those other 3 things, or it takes away time from one of those 3 things.
Absolutely. No, I like that concept. I think it's very interesting, and it keeps your mindset in focus, and just I think just understanding that there's going to be hard times, and then there'll be great times. And it's just keeping that even keel for consistency across the board. It is the most crucial overarching kind of concept of the idea of that there will be tough times, there will be good times, but just keep pushing through.
Yeah, that was great. Usually to wrap up the episodes, we'll do a couple questions, and one segment of that will be hypotheticals. But the first question we want to ask you is, and we ask this to most of our guests because we find it interesting. It kind of shows a little bit of their character and who they are. But if you could have dinner with any person, alive or dead, who would it be and why, outside of family members?
All right. So I think I said Coach T last time, honestly, which I would probably still say Coach Tierney, honestly, because I get so many life lessons and just passion and joy. Really enjoy talking with him. Another person that I would love to honestly talk with is probably like Gary Vee or something. I know that sounds crazy, but just his pure energy and just it's unbelievable how much energy that guy has, but it's just from the entrepreneurial, and I honestly haven't listened to him in like over a year, but I just would find it so fascinating to just hear him talk constantly. And then my third and final answer would be Robert Kiyosaki, who wrote Rich Dad Poor Dad. I know he's had some crazy times the past 6 years, but I would love to sit down and talk with him just about real estate. I think that he is magnificent and just understands the whole system very, very well for real estate. So he would be my kind of celebrity person, and then probably Coach Tierney for sure.
Nice. Very cool.
Awesome.
Do you want to do the word association, Ryan, or do you want me to?
If you want to start it, and then I'll snowball on top.
All right. So basically the word association game is we'll say a word or phrase, and then you'll just respond with what initially comes to your mind. And you have to respond with either a word or a phrase. Does that make sense?
Just quick.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. So the first one is lacrosse.
Fun. So do you want me to give
estate.
a full phrase or just one word?
Just whatever comes to your mind. Just quick.
Oh, perfect. Okay. You said real estate. Real estate. Building blocks of financial future.
Family.
Most important thing in life.
Mentorship.
Second most important thing in life. Being mentored by great people, I think ultimately sets you up for success. That's the key.
Money.
Important, but don't let it run your life.
All-American.
Doesn't matter. Championships.
Time.
Value. Very valuable.
Difficult clients.
Learning process. Great learning, honestly.
Your failures.
Learning moments again, I think as goalie, you learn how to deal with failure pretty quickly, honestly. So I think that I was pretty programmed to do that. So I think just learning moments, move on.
Getting hit by a shot when you're one-on-one 10 feet away. In practice.
Ow, painful. Depends where you get hit. But painful.
Curse words, foreign language.
Curse words.
All right, last one from me. Your network.
Extremely valuable and important.
Awesome. I think that was great. Sweet. Well, to wrap us up, thank you so much for your time. Enjoyed having you on the podcast. Some really great nuggets in there about leveraging your network and how you can find those opportunities a lot closer than you may see within your family, within your close friends, things you've already done, experienced. So thank you for your time. We really appreciate it and glad to have you on.
Absolutely.
Is there if people want to reach out to you, the Goalie Academy, your LinkedIn, what's the best way to find you?
Yeah, you can follow me on my LinkedIn, just Ryan LaPlante. And then we have a goalie school page, and that is just at Goalie Evolution Academy. That's on Instagram. And then for real estate, if you're in Colorado, LaPlante Team Real Estate, that's me and my mom's Instagram account. So yeah, feel free to reach out if you have any questions. And thank you guys so much for having me on here. I think this is an awesome podcast and really great for younger people to hear. And if anybody has questions for me about my path, feel free to reach out. But I think the network is so important, especially in how connected everybody is these days. I think it's really important for people to keep continuing to build the friendships, especially with how connected people are online. And I think it's still so important to value those in-person friendships and relationships and make sure that everybody continues to do those, because that's what I focus on the most is seeing people, and that goes so much further. So if you can keep continuing to build that network and stay close with the network with your friends and family and everybody, no matter if it's clients or whatever, that will go so much further than just one text. So
yeah. Awesome. So true. Have a good rest of your weekend.
Thank you. Have a great day, guys. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you too. See ya.